Hi, Dominic Clay. Thank you again for coming to speak with us today at the Soft Art Gallery. And we are super excited to talk about your upcoming exhibit here on February 17th. And so if you have a moment, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Dominic Clay. I'm originally from a small town in East Texas called Karnak, Texas. Now I'm living in Houston, Acres Home area, and I just came here to Houston just because it had a very, very vibrant art scene and I wanted to be a part of it. And plus, one of my art mentors, Curtis Watson, actually made a splash here in Houston along with all of the Houston Impressionist artists that came out in the 70s and 80s. So, I moved to Houston just to be a part of that movement. And I came here, I got my Bachelor in Fine Arts from U of H downtown, which is right up the road from your gallery. So, but I'm here and I'm loving it. And right now, I also work at the Houston Museum of African American Culture as the exhibitions manager. So, most of my time is spent in the arts, and I find it that I'm very privileged to have, art in my life on both sides, on my professional side and personal.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about your upcoming exhibit. What would you like us to know, and what would you like us to take away from seeing your exhibit?
With the exhibition that I'm putting together is called Meta, which is sponsored by the Houston Arts Alliance and Arts Hound. And Meta is to self-reference all of these things within African American history that we somewhat glaze over when we're basically bombarded with a lot of data and a lot of media that we see about African Americans. And it's not just about African Americans, but the world that we live in. I'm a millennial, and most of my childhood was full of cartoons, comic books. And there was a lot of things in there that actually was inspired by a lot of African American history. And when it comes to the education of African American history, sometimes it can be daunting. But when we provide these historical cues within these pop culture outlets and these platforms, we sometimes don't see the inspiration behind a lot of these so-called urban loves that we have, X-Men, Star Trek, The Next Generation, so many other references of African American history that basically made me interested, and I wanted to tell those stories visually.
Yes, so two of the pieces that will be shown are here, so tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this piece right here is called The Lone Ranger. Basically, it's a self-reference of the Black Ranger, who was played by Zach. Growing up, loved the Power Rangers. But, sometimes history reveals itself unconsciously.
Yes.
And I wanted to use the Black Ranger to discuss a historical figure, which is Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves was a U.S. Marshal, and I was showed this story by an arts friend of mine, Nigel Dorsey, and he basically unveiled this whole history about how Django and Will Smith and Wild Wild West, all of them was inspired by this African American super bad guy, during the time of slavery, who was still doing great things. And so that's why I decided to create this piece. Composition is all inspired by a lot of different references that I used. Kehinde Wiley, Kermit Oliver, Robert Hewitt, all of these guys, Robert Hodge and his work, all of these guys is who I'm inspired by. And I'm happy to say that my art developed from these individuals and seeing their work go forward. And hopefully one day I'm trying my best to fulfill the legacy that they're leaving behind.
Great.
With this piece right here, this piece is called Cleons. And this is a piece created basically talking about the individual from Star Trek, The Next Generation, Worf. Worf was a Cleon, and he there was these awesome and wicked weapons that they used, and had this really interesting culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that narrative and basically provided even the physical reference to what we see in our history as African Americans, you know, scarification that was in the Congo at the time. So I used that reference visually to try to discuss and unveil these unsung inspirations within the Star Trek, I guess you would say, continuity.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you again for coming by and speaking with us. And thank you. If you're in the Houston area, February 17th, we'd love to have you come out to Bisong Art Gallery, located in the downtown area. And Dominic Clay would speak with you and tell you more about his art and the exhibition. Thank you.